5th year in college hoops, his 3rd with the Gators. Todd Golden, his first-year head coach, challenged him and said, last year you didn't go to the tournament. That's not how you want your legacy to end. And a new legacy begins here for the 37-year-old head coach of the Gators, who was hired 8 months ago today on March 18th. Castleton takes the tip, and it's won by Florida State as Cameron Corrin, the freshman at 6'10", part of this youthful and relatively inexperienced Florida State squad. Ball tipped out of bounds off the hands of the sophomore Will Richard, and it stays with the Seminoles. 17 on the shot clock on the game's opening possession. The officials today, Lee Cassell, Doug Shows, and Doug Sermons here in Tallahassee. So for FSU to begin the year, they lost to Stetson by 9, to UCF by 14, and then on Monday, fell by 7 points against Troy. Caleb Mills, about a 13-footer, sends it wide to the right, and here come the Gators with their first possession.
Florida State, Mike, out in man-to-man. This is going to be key here, how they defend this guy right here with the ball. Colin Castleton, we talked about it, last 2 games, 30 points and 10 rebounds.
And he played outside there as Kawasi Reeves went to the basket, went up, and got fouled on that attempt.
Right here, nice little high-low action, little rub screen, and again, this is a concern for Florida State and Leonard Hamilton, a theme for them. They're shorthanded. Really, 7 scholarship guys really has been the theme for them the last couple of weeks. So they can ill afford to get into foul trouble early in this game.
Anybody who's followed Florida State basketball over Leonard Hamilton's 21 seasons, but especially the last decade for the head coach who missed out on the tournament last year for the first time since the 15-16 season, knows a staple of what he does is play guys in short bursts. Nobody really plays more than 30 minutes, but that hasn't been the case this year because of injury, because of suspension. Mills into the lane, stuck against Felder. 8 to shoot for their leading returning scorer, and a fadeaway outside the lane, no good. Soaring rebound pulled down by Richard.
Mike, on that offensive possession by Florida State, not much ball movement. They ran a couple of high screen and rolls with Mills, but again, in that situation, you really want the ball to swing a little bit, see if you can get Florida spread out.
Locked in, puts it up. Castleton finishes with the left hand. Nobody boxed him out, and an easy stick back.
We talked about it. That's a guy you got to put a body on. Double-double the last 2 games for Colin Castleton. That's a big-time rebound.
A quick look, and it's Darren Green, the junior from Charlotte, North Carolina, their leading scorer on the year at 16 points a game. He's also playing about 36 minutes a game. That's one thing to keep an eye on, Puck, as we go throughout this game. Fatigue being a factor for the Seminoles. Castleton had it halfway down.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. We just can't remember the last time a team coached by Leonard Hamilton, as we take a look at some good ball movement there. Guys playing more than 30, 35 minutes. That's been a staple of his depth.
From the corner, second chance opportunity, it's Fletcher. Second season at Florida State after playing 9 games his freshman year at the University of Kentucky. Gators at 2-1, a surprising loss for them Monday night against Florida Atlantic University, 76-74. And a common thread among the early season upsets, no matter the league, is you look at the 3-point total, and Florida allowed 13 threes, including at one point a 30-6 run by the Owls of FAU.
And when we spoke with Coach Golden today, this afternoon at Shoot-Around, that was one of the things, understanding the scouting report. They cannot give up these straight line drives like they did there and wide open looks.
Mills, the drive, the reverse lay-in. The Noles with the early advantage. 3 minutes and change gone by in Tallahassee. Inside Castleton. And a jump ball, and it belongs to the Gators.
And Mike, this is good offense right here. Caleb Mills is a guy they have to get going. When we spoke with Coach Hamilton about him, he said, look, he's adjusting to whether or not being a point guard and also learning when to score. He says, look, we need his offense, and certainly this is a good start for him tonight.
Odd shot there from Reeves. Still had about 13 on the shot clock. Put up a contested 3. Here's Cleveland. Just inside the arc. That's a long 2 for the sophomore, averaging 8 again.
Saw him out there early before shoot-around started, working on that jumper right there. Beautiful pull-up.
And Lofton gets a clear path to the lane. The grad transfer from St. Bonaventure. Mills goes right back at Lofton and has the response for FSU. It is a promising start for a Seminole squad in search of its first victory. Leonard Hamilton's not going to love the foul there on Caleb Mills, but he's got 4 of 10 for Florida State in search of its first win, up early over Florida State as they have the lead against Florida.
It's something that Leonard Hamilton and staff talked about. They need his offense. A great start for him right here. Not settling for jumpers, driving the ball to the basket. And that's what you want from Caleb Mills, a guy that is one of their better scorers. Great start for Florida State.
Second season with FSU. He played 2 at Houston and averaged 13 a game last year to lead the team that went 17-14, but 10-10 in the ACC and missing out on the NCAA tournament. Now in this series, Florida State has won 7 of the last 8, but they lost on the road last year in Gainesville. This matchup that dates back to 1951. Richard with the pass, and it's tipped up and in. Jason Jatobo, the 6'11 center, fresh off the bench, gets 2 points.
Yeah, that's great work on the offensive glass. It was a beautiful dish.
Cleveland hit by Jatobo, and the foul on the big man is first.
Well, Mike, this is all set up, though, by dribble drive. Excellent pass right here. Now, that should have been a bucket, but Jatobo on the offensive glass. We talked about his size. He is a large, but also great set of hands and quick feet.
He's an imposing presence, and he wears those glasses because his season last year was cut short. And I should say last season. It was this year on January 26th. He was hit in the eye, has had 3 surgeries, and we're told in the spring at one point had to be laying down for about 20 hours a day to relieve pressure on his eye. So a long path just to get back onto the floor for Jatobo. But he's an imposing figure, 6'11", 300 pounds. He's matched up right now with Naheem McLeod, which is great for Florida State to have him back after he missed their game on Monday. But the Seminoles, the way they recruit in the post, even at full health, would not have a body the same size as Jatobo.
Yeah, it's really hard to explain until you're in person and see how large he is. But again, right here, sliding his feet, very mobile at his size.
Jalen Worley draws 2 defenders and gets called for the offensive foul with a lowered shoulder into the lane, sending Fudge to the floor.
And this is great team defense right here. Realizing you're big as it matched up against the guard. Step over and help. That team defense right there. And lowered the shoulder. And again, that's just great help defense that time by Florida.
Now it's Worley on the defensive, picking up 94 feet against Myron Jones. Fudge goes high-low, Jatobo left block. And he's hit on the way up. That's a mismatch problem for Florida State. They've got to find a way to either deny or stop the pass entirely.
Well, right there, that's set up because they switched on the ball screen, and now you have a guard trying to guard him, and you're just not. That's a mismatch. That's an understatement. Excellent recognition by Florida, though, recognizing that Florida State is switching on ball screens, and they're going to be able to get some high-low action or some post-ups with their bigs when the Florida State guards switch.
First free throw of the year right there for Jatobo, who plays about 8 minutes a game when he gives Colin Castleton a spell. And he's 2 for 2. Foul was on Naheem McLeod. Got hurt against UCF a week ago today. His return was in question, but watching him in warm-ups and practice this afternoon, he looks to be full go with the right ankle healed. Other than the loss for Florida on Monday, their wins have been relatively comfortable by 36 against Stony Brook, and 4 days later, a 10-point victory against Kennesaw State. Green sneaks into the lane, just missed on the floater.
Florida State continues to switch on the ball screens.
There's definitely a mismatch in the post. 3-point try right in front of the FSU bench. Board secured by Fletcher. Mills tried to cross it over. Fudge poked it away. Reclaimed by Worley. Shot clock is at 12. Fletcher fades and gets back iron.
But what Florida's doing right now, they're doing a good job on the defensive glass. They're not allowing Florida State any second chance opportunities.
Fudge, the LSU transfer. Mills gets a hand on it, loose ball. Florida State with numbers. Mills steps through, leaves it short, and it's followed up by Fletcher on the run. The pressure defense, the scoring in transition, signatures of what Florida State has wanted to do this season, has not been able to as they get closer to full strength. Gators just 3 of 11 from the floor to begin the night. And Mills off balance was looking for McLeod and throws it away.
Well, the one thing that Florida State is doing, they're not settling for jumpers on the other end. In this last really 3-4 minute stretch, Florida has settled for some jumpers. If you're Coach Golden, you probably want your guys, and as Castleton comes back into the game, get your big some paint touches. We talked about their size advantage. If it comes off a dribble drive kick, yeah, that's fine for a three, but try to get your big some touches.
And as Castleton, as you mentioned, comes back in for Florida, the freshman from Dayton, Ohio, Tom House, a threat from deep, is onto the floor for the Seminoles. A lot of traffic there in the lane, and Trey Bonham, first-year transfer from VMI, draws the foul. He's listed at 6 feet. You be the judge, huh?
Well, you always get a few extra inches.
That's right.
So I think I might have, in a few books, been 6'5", 6'4". I'd say I'm more on the 6'3" side, but certainly you like the idea right there, though. Not settling for a jumper. Try to get the ball that time into the paint, off the bounce.
Bottom 0 for 4 at the line. First make of the year right there. With the key debts at VMI, he averaged 11 points a game over 2 seasons. Started all 29 for them last year. Two for 2, and it's a 3-point game. Seminoles play around McLeod on the interior as he comes up to set a screen. Cleveland sees space. 3-pointer no good. From the corner, that three altered by Caleb Mills. The Seminoles with the lead. They are setting the pace here in the first half, turning defense into offense. Loose ball, Caleb Mills. And even if he can't finish, Fletcher's there to clean it up. Gary Williams and then Leonard Hamilton, who does not have his team at full strength right now without the 6'11" Baba Miller, who's suspended by the NCAA. Big man Jalen Gainey. They're 0-3 for the first time in 20 years. Still very optimistic about the way his team has practiced and the way that they brought energy every day.
And I hope folks watching at home caught that little note, the youngest looking coach in the Leonard Hamilton. I mean, the guy recruited me back in the early 90s, and he looks the same. He's definitely found the fountain of youth. I need to know his secrets, but obviously one of the best in the business.
There are some secrets he won't divulge, including where he finds 7-footers year after year. On the pass inside for Castleton, he is whistled for the offensive foul, the first on the Florida big man, who comes in averaging 25 points, 9 rebounds. And one of the things that gets mentioned every time you hear Todd Golden talked about is analytics, right? How he has a very analytics-heavy approach. Well, I got a good chuckle out of talking to him today because we were talking about Castleton, how he convinced Castleton to return for this year, and he goes, you know, he's off to a pretty good start. He's ranked 4th in KenPom today.
Well, I can tell you right now, analytics and everything else, he is a very good player, and obviously he raves about what he brings to the table. And you know, you look at his timeline, really fortunate that he was able to come back. Many thought he would just go to the NBA. I think the shoulder surgery really hurt that, but also he was excited when we talked to him about playing for Coach Golden. He's got some unfinished business here at Florida.
Gators on the run, led by C.J. Felder, the former Boston College Eagle. They kick it around the perimeter. Bonham had to go halfway down, and that time a foul is called on Felder under the basket. So 2 straight possessions where the Gators get called for fouls on offense.
And that's a great block out by Caleb Mills, giving up a lot of size to C.J. Felder. And that time you got your guard there and Caleb Mills blocking out. It's a pretty good look by Florida. Beautiful skip court pass by Lofton. That's a wide open look, just unable to get it to go.
House, the freshman in control, gives it up to Mills, the redshirt junior. Block was called there. We're going to get a whistle here and a Class B technical foul going on Bonham. So the play is allowed to finish there. The officiating mechanics have changed this year. Last year it was a flop warning. If a second warning was issued, it would be the technical foul. They said, the heck with that. We're trying to get rid of flopping. It's a Class B technical foul, 1 free throw. Ball goes back to the point of interruption. And if there's a play continuing like that, they let the action finish before blowing the whistle.
Yeah, now that one right there, I'm not sure. Again, from that angle, it just looked like he lost his footing. I like the rule, though. Again, flopping, there's no, I think, place for it in basketball. That one, though, from that angle right there, that angle right there looked like, now again, right here you can see what the ref's seeing. Now, normally there's a head bob back. That one right there, he's just trying to slide his feet. That one, I would say, that's a tough break for Florida. Don't think that was a flop in that situation.
Might have just been a case of momentum on the retreat on the defensive shuffle. House with the deflection, fights for it. Felder wins that battle. And as a coda to that as well, the Class B technical foul does not count as a personal for the player whom it's given to. 5 on the shot clock for the Gators. Bonham in the corner, sneaks his way under the basket, kicks opposite wing, and the 3-pointer goes long for Kugel. On the offensive board, Kugel, left it short at the rim. Florida State by 6. Cleveland shares, mismatch underneath. A turn and a finish for Corin, the freshman. At number 3 belongs to the all-time leading scorer in Florida State hoops as well, Bob Sura, who played here 91 to 95. Baseline drive. Close range miss again. Castleton can't get control. It stays Florida ball, but the Gators cannot finish at point-blank range at the moment.
Yeah, that's a couple of missed opportunities. And right here, screen and roll offense. Beautiful play by Cleveland. Now, you don't want your big normally to put it down, though. That's a nice recover. Soft hands and then the little jump hook. And the offense right now is rolling, but I think the key for Florida State right now, and the reason why they have this lead, defensively, they're contesting shots, and then they're doing a good job on the defensive glass.
And that has led to an 0 for 10 skid for Florida. 4 different players touched the ball on that possession, and McLeod erased it off the backboard. Noles, and it's right to the cup for Cleveland. Timeout, Florida, with 8:43 to go in the first half, and Florida State, with defense turning into offense, leads by 10. Feet inside the Tucker Center in Tallahassee, as Florida State has taken a 10-point lead over Florida. Matthew Cleveland, after a Naheem McLeod block, coming down the floor and laying it all out.
Yeah, and everything you can see for Florida State at the basket all started with their defense, as you referenced. They're playing excellent defense, and then they're getting out in transition, pushing the pace, and they're getting some high percentage shots.
Fletcher picks up against Lofton, a transfer point guard for Florida. Castleton drew 2. Lofton the pass to the corner, and Richards stepped out of bounds.
Well, although they got a turnover, they read my mind. I was thinking they have to get Castleton a touch. Run your offense to him. You can see what Florida State's doing now. They're collapsing down, doubling or shading guys to him. Run your offense through Castleton, and then you'll go from there. But credit Florida State.
And the Noles are doing what they need to do against Castleton, because with his size and his skill, you can't just play him straight up one-on-one. McLeod missed it, but it's tipped off of Felder. It stays FSU ball, 20 on the shot clock. And a frustrating beginning to the night for the Gators, coming off their first loss of the season.
And some of these 50-50 balls have gone to Florida State, and then the missed opportunities. They missed at least 4 or 5 layups.
Chandler Jackson, in his college debut, will be going to the free throw line for FSU as the roster gets deeper and stronger in game number 4 of the year. Short-handed this year, he's not selling things short. There you see Baba Miller, who's on the bench. He's out for the first 16 games because of an NCAA suspension. Both the big man, Naheem McLeod, and Chandler Jackson return today. This is the career debut for Jackson, and Jalen Gainey, the transfer from Brown, is out for the year, unfortunately for FSU, with a preseason injury. And now here is Jackson at the line, the freshman out of Memphis, who was Mr. Basketball in the state of Tennessee last year. Look at his right hand. He's a right-handed shooter. He's got that all taped up. Still able to shoot all right with that.
Yeah, and speaking with Coach Hamilton this afternoon, we asked him, when was the last time you've only played 7 guys, really call it 6.5 in a game? And he said, shook his head, never in his coaching career. And it's probably been one of the most difficult 2 years for him because of all the injuries that Florida State has had and guys being out.
And you're talking about a lot of hoops with his first year as a head coach at Oklahoma State, all the way back in 1986. So the 13-point lead right now is the largest lead of the season for Florida State. They had not led by double digits in any of the first 3 games.
And it's how they're doing it, though, Mike. Florida State, as we're going to take a look at Cleveland getting to the basket, 16 points in the paint for Florida State. That's beautiful body control by Cleveland. Florida only has 6 points in the paint. That's the key to this game right now. Florida State not settling for jumpers, and they've been able to get the ball close to the basket.
Green walked with it. 7:07 Gators ball as they have shot an abysmal 3 of 20 from the field to start. Florida State limiting Castleton to just 3 field goal tries, of which he's made 1.
And credit Florida State, that's something they were working on. Look, Leonard Hamilton did not want to change up their style of play, but they've been conscious of shading guys towards Castleton and making it difficult for him to touch the ball.
Look at that. They swarm in on him, and that time it ends up with a foul. That goes against the freshman Jackson, but the game plan there is evident. When he turns to shoot, they collapse on him.
Yeah, and that's, again, not a double, but you see guys with their eyes on him. Now, that time, though,
you got 5 defenders there, Huck.
And I would say that's a guy that draws a lot of attention, rightfully so. We talked about the monster games that he has had, the last 2 back-to-back 30-point games and double-digit rebounds. He has just been a matchup nightmare.
So Castleton's now up to 3 points. In their last game, 30 and 12 to go along with 5 blocks, along with hitting his first career 3-pointer. And he's the first player at Florida since Anthony Roberson with back-to-back 30-point games since 2005.
And there's another stat. We were doing a little digging about Joakim Noah, and he put up 37 at one point against Gonzaga, 37 and 11. So he's in some pretty good company of some Florida greats, and just remarkable what he's been able to do early on in this season, the numbers that he has put up.
And as Todd Golden mentioned, ranked number 4 among players in KenPom today, behind Drew Timme, Zach Edey, and Jalen Wilson. Pretty good company for Castleton to start the year. Contested jumper, Cleveland misses it, and it's tipped off of Florida. I wanted to check that too, because we talked with Todd Golden. I said, what's your media diet like on a given basis? And he said, well, I'm definitely on KenPom for sure. I'm sure there's some Bart Torvik mixed in there as well. And certainly, he said, too much social media, but fear not, that we may be in the waning days of Twitter, which might be a net positive for all of our mental health.
Well, I can tell you one thing right now that they need to do, and Coach Golden and staff are trying to figure out, keeping Florida State out of the paint.
Gators on the run, they've got numbers. They are without a field goal in the last 9 minutes. 0 for their last 12. 1 make today for Castleton, who's bothered at every step he takes. And the 3 is good for Reeves, a much-needed bucket for Florida.
That's what they need to do, play through Castleton. If they're going to collapse 4 or 5 guys down on him, somebody's going to be open to shoot a 3. Unselfish play by your star player.
Corin was wide open for a 3 there. Cleveland gets double-teamed, fights through it, and the foul is on Reeves, his first.
Back to the previous possession for Florida offensively right here again. He draws, look at that, 1, 2, 3 guys. Kick it out, don't force your shot up. That's how their offense, I think, needs to be in this game. In particular, the way that Florida State is shading players to him. Make it easy for yourself. If they double, somebody's going to be cutting or open on the perimeter for some looks.
Now, you may be looking at Kowacie Reeves, his purple hair, and wondering, well, what's exactly the deal there with the numbers on the back? We're told 999 are angel numbers. They have meaning to some, and according to the definitive source for angel number research, cosmopolitan.com, that was just the first thing that came up on Google, that indicates that closure is on its way.
Well, I can tell you right now, he's front runner for all hair team. We got some pictures of all the hairstyles that he has worn recently, and that's just a little bit too much for me. The explaining you tried, so I'm not even gonna. I'm just gonna end that conversation. I'm confused right now, but certainly he's going to be a key player for Florida.
Castleton draws the defenders in. It leads to an open look for Richard. He misses. Noles by 10, under 5.5 to go in the first half. Malcolm, it's been a good number of these Florida State possessions where they've come down the floor, pushed it into the paint, and then gotten it back outside. Caleb Mills, Castleton sagging off and makes him pay. Now Richard bullies his way to the basket.
That's a good answer by Richard that time. One of the few times they've been able to get the ball close and get a high percentage shot in the last really 4 to 5 minutes. Much needed bucket for Florida.
Point guard against point guard. Jumper too short there for Worley. And the pass too high for Richard. Transfer from Belmont. Has it go off the fingertips and out of bounds.
Well, it's been a frustrating first half for Castleton. And again, you can see the strategy for Florida State. They're going to make somebody else besides him score for Florida.
And another debut now for Florida State as well is Deontay Green, the freshman out of Asheville, North Carolina, coming up to the top of the key here. See that big brace on his right leg, a torn ACL in his high school career. He's cleared to play. And Caleb Mills is clear for takeoff as well. 13-point Florida State advantage with 4 minutes left in the first half.
And Mike, Florida continues to flatten out on ball screens. They're not hedging the bigs of Florida, and they're allowing the guards of Florida State to come off clean. Again, that time Caleb Love right into his shot. No help from the big.
Two defenders on Jatobo, and an emphatic finish by Fudge right over the top, and a technical foul called at the conclusion of the play.
And I think it was more what he said after the dunk, and Golden not happy at all. That's a really difficult time. You're trying to get back into this game. And
that's his first personal.
Emotions running high in Tallahassee. 31-20. Something bad. It certainly wasn't his last name. Perhaps some words of a non-pacifist nature there as he threw it down over the top of the Seminoles defense and Deontay Green.
Yeah, I think obviously we didn't see any words. Once he came down, I think it was potentially something he said while he was coming down, and then the stare down. I think that's really what set off the ref. Unfortunate situation because, again, Florida right now, you're trying to gain some momentum before you close out the half. You're trailing by double digits. You get a dunk. Certainly, though, now shifts back towards Florida State where they're going to get a technical free throw.
A lot of credit due to the Florida State defense, which has held the Gators to just 25% from the floor. And Darren Green goes to the free throw line for Florida State. He led the Noles Monday against Troy, 24 points for the first-year transfer from UCF. And he said the biggest difference coming here from playing in Orlando has just been the speed of the game. And that's the style which Florida State plays. He said UCF, a lot more set plays. Here, we want to get a steal, get out and run.
Yeah, and it's been a huge pickup for Leonard Hamilton and staff. His shooting ability, I think that's the key thing that he brings. His ability to stretch the D. We talked about it last two games, over 60% from the three-point line has been huge.
He's 39% from three for his career. He's looking to get free here against Richard, and he gets called for a foul.
The old announcer jinx. We're singing his praises, and he picks up an offensive foul. I think, though, the other key stat in this first half thus far, Florida State, only 4 threes attempted. So they've done a nice job getting the ball into the paint. On the other end, Florida, they got to figure out offensively how they're going to get some shots in the paint and not settle for jumpers.
It's a different look offense for the Gators when Castleton is not on the floor. More of a scoring threat in the post than Jatobo. Comes down to just 3 seconds on the shot clock. And a foul under the basket, much to the disbelief of those on defense.
Yeah, and that's a bailout right there. Excellent defensive possession by Florida State. No need to foul in that situation. Let's see. Yeah, got him with the body. And certainly did not look like Monahan was going to have a good angle to make that shot. Even if he got it off, it was going to be a difficult reverse layup.
McLeod at 7'4", even if he doesn't jump, probably is still able to alter or block that shot.
And there were other guys there as well, too, on the other side to contest that reverse. So, again, one of the few mistakes that they have made in this last really 10-minute stretch, Florida State defensively. Otherwise, they've been solid playing team defense.
Castleton is back onto the floor. He and Jatobo. So this presents a mismatch in favor of Florida with the two big men out there.
And I like this move by Coach Golden. Look, Florida State has not taken a lot of threes, as we just referenced. Try to give yourself a size advantage and then get two big guys in the paint and try to force Florida State to shoot some ball from the perimeter.
Biggest player on the floor right now for FSU is Cam Corrin, the freshman at 6'10", and significantly less experienced than his fellow bigs out there. Cleveland into traffic. Bonham, right side of the lane. He can't finish. One and done on the possession. 2.5 to play in the first half. The lead is 11, and now make it 14 on Darren Green's fading triple.
At shoot-around this afternoon, Florida was working on transition defense. That's something that Coach Golden talked about, in particular finding Green. That's a breakdown in the scouting report.
And it's a shot that has to be made when the deficit is double digits for the Gators to get back into it.
This right here, knowing the scouting report, this guy, we talked about it, last 2 games, over 60% from the three-point line. You must find him in transition. Excellent patience and offense by Florida State that time in their secondary break.
2:04 in the first, and the freshman Cam Corrin at the line, who was recruited to Florida State by Leonard Hamilton's top assistant, Stan Jones, widely known as the architect of this defense. And Corrin said Stan Jones recruited him through his trainer in Texas by the name of Brian Jones, who Stan Jones recruited back when Jones was a player, wanted him to come play for the staff at Miami, and he chose to go to Alcorn State instead, which was a surprise to Jones and many around the college basketball world, a top 20 player who chose to go the HBCU route.
And you're seeing that trend a lot more now, but certainly they are high on this young man, though, and what he brings to the table for this Florida State team, and going back to that depth issue that we talked about that was lacking early in the season. Happy to see him in the rotation.
Shot clock at 10. Lofton with the speed advantage there against Corrin, and finds Jatobo for the put-in.
Beautiful find by Lofton that time. Can't run it any better. One of the better guards in college basketball. Huge pickup for Florida and a much-needed bucket, all set up by his court awareness.
FSU takes a timeout. They'll have the ball with 1:27 left in the first.
Welcome to Subway's biggest refresh yet. They're drafting 12 new subs for their all-new Subway Series menu. This is exciting, Tony.
Oh, you've never seen stats like this before, Chuck. The new Monster has juicy steak and crispy bacon.
Dang, but what about the new Boss? Meatballs covered in marinara, coupled with fresh mozzarella. It looks so good. It makes me hangry.
Did you say hangry?
And pepperoni, too.
Pepperoni? Now I'm hangry.
The new Subway Series. What?
The offense starts with Kyle Lofton for Florida as they trail by 14 against Florida State. He gets on the move and slips it right through for Jatobo for 2.
Yeah, and last season, he was 9th in the NCAA, close to 6 assists per game. The transfer from St. Bonaventure, and that's a huge pickup for this Florida team. And He is one of the better floor generals in college.
Cleveland stymied by Castleton. Green works his way to the edge, fades away, and hits nothing but net. That's a beautiful jumper.
That one right there, contested. That's just a good offensive player shooting over a contested defender that's in pretty good position.
That barely clipped the rim on the corner try from Reeves. Green gets a good look and drops it in. He is on a tear right now. A dozen for Darren Green.
All set up. Caleb Mills, that is a beautiful transition offense.
That's another Gators turnover. There's 7 to the first half. Castleton secures it. He's up to 6 first-half points. 1 possession left here for the Seminoles. Malcolm, we've got ourselves a sizable advantage for the team that has not won a game this year. How surprised are you right now?
Well, when healthy, this is the Florida State team that I think most expected coming into this season. And certainly it has not been that way the first 3 games, but they've come out locked in defensively.
Cleveland missed the final shot of the first half, but 1 of every 2 that Florida State put up went through the basket in the first 20 minutes. And the team that is without a win on the year at home today, feeling good in a Sunshine State showdown with a 43-26 lead over the Gators at the half.
If Florida State's going to run 3 guys at him, somebody needs to dive to the hoop on a cut, or shooters should be open on the perimeter.
Castleton trying to become the first Florida player ever to have 3 straight games of 30 points or more. 6 at the half, and a 17-point deficit for the 2-1 Gators, who've made the 2.5-hour trip here to Tallahassee. And the first half begins with a foul on the junior Trey Bonham.
Well, let's see the adjustment by Florida on ball screens. In that first half, the bigs were not hedging or stopping the ball. Right now, they need to do that and try to keep these Florida State guards out of the paint.
Mills stymied there. Outside for Cleveland, who had a nice first half. He pulls up and sends it wide. But in the first 20 minutes, Matthew Cleveland, 10 points, more than he had in the last 2 games combined. Open look, Bonham hits it from 3.
Coaches talk about that first 5 minutes of the second half. And you can see right now Florida coming out with some energy. Coach Golden certainly was talking to them, and I think they need to come out and match the energy that Florida State had in that first half. No communication that time on the screen, and Florida bench loving it.
Lofton, the drive and the kick. Castleton, 3 defenders. It sinks to just 1. He turns and over the left shoulder, hits front iron. Felder had it ripped away by Cleveland. Numbers for Florida State. And out of bounds off of Fletcher. Huck, you go back to the last possession when Bonham hit that 3. I think it's a microcosm of what the Florida State staff was telling us earlier today. We might have guys who have a couple years of college basketball experience, but not necessarily in the system. On that screen there, it was Caleb Mills, who's in his 2nd year here, and Cam Corrin, who's in his 1st. The communication didn't happen, and that's why the 3 got an open look there.
Yeah, and Leonard Hamilton really emphasized that this afternoon in shoot-around, where typically he has guys on his roster that have been in his system for at least 3 or 4 years to go along with some of these new guys and young players coming in, and the mix is just not there with this group.
The lead 14 on the step back. Lofton, every part of the rim. A missed 2nd try, but the 3rd opportunity drops for Felder.
That's great work on the offensive glass by C.J. Felder.
A takeaway at midcourt and an uncontested lay-in. Kyle Lofton for 2. It's a 10-point game. What a start here in the first 2 minutes. The Gators have chipped away 7 points off the Florida State lead. Foul on Bonham, his second.
Well, in that first half, Florida State only had 5 turnovers. Florida comes out in the second half, picking up full court and trying to force some turnovers. And I think that goes back to the depth. Again, Florida State is well documented. They don't have much depth with the guys out. Florida now trying to see if they can fatigue this Florida State backcourt.
Fletcher kept it alive. Loose ball goes to Bonham. He's met at the rim by Mills, who's whistled for his second foul.
Just like that, with their defense, Florida with a chance to cut this thing to single digits really quick. And, you know, Mike, we talked about it. It was Florida State in that first half defensively that set the tone and was able to get that big lead. Now the tides have reversed, and Florida is the more aggressive team and the team creating opportunities with their defense.
They've given the Seminoles a taste of their own medicine, picking up and making it 94 feet of difficulty to get the ball to the opposing goal. 2 free throws and an 8-point game. A shock to the system with the opening second half statement by the Gators. Mills with contact and a chance for 3.
Well, he is the guy that Coach Hamilton and staff talked about. They need his leadership. That's just great body control against a very solid C.J. Felder. And one situation and a much-needed bucket to stop this run by Florida.
Mills, the elder statesman for Leonard Hamilton's club, earned his undergraduate degree in July of this year and now working toward a graduate certificate in athletic coaching. Just the second member of his family, he said, to graduate from college. Lofton, the transfer from St. Bonaventure at the point. Lobs high for Castleton, who keeps it high and away from the defense.
That's a beautiful pass and heads-up play by Castleton, slipping right down there before that Florida State D can get there. Pass was pinpoint, perfect pass, and he kept it high and finished.
Castleton now with 8 points, 5 boards. The game's leading scorer remains Caleb Mills with a dozen. And Leonard Hamilton, not liking the trend line of the opening 3 minutes, calls a timeout. Gators have used that same formula to get themselves back in this game, along with a dose of their best player, Colin Castleton.
Well, the energy changed to start the second half for Florida. Right here, you're going to take a look at a nice backdoor cut that time by Castleton. The pass was on point. I think the big number in this game, turnovers. Florida State in their last game against Troy, a game which they lost, 19 turnovers. Troy had 17 points off of those turnovers. That's something they cannot do, but credit Florida's defense for picking up.
Mills going to work against Castleton, who alters that shot, comes down with it, and starts the break for the Gators. Bonham sees open space, puts it up. And a fight for it. Hand in there, Richard, the whistle.
Well, Florida's missed a lot of layups in this game. Right here, though, looked like Castleton might have got away. Got a little bit of hand right there. We have the luxury of having replay, but a nice play, and I like that he kept possession. But offensively for Florida, Mike, they've missed a lot of layups in this game. Putbacks and the drives to the basket.
Gators still only shooting 32%. A chance to bolster that percentage as Castleton with contact gets the bucket and the foul. He is dangerous at all 3 levels.
That's a 6'11" guy. This is the reason why I think he'll play for a paycheck at the next level. 6'11", shift, little euro and finish. That's a guard move right there by a guy that goes 6'11". And easy to see why he is one of the better players, not just in the SEC, but in college. That's a big-time move by Colin Castleton.
You and I will never be 6'11". We will never, if you ever did in your life, dunk again. I did once. The most relatable thing about Colin Castleton is he said his average score in a round of golf is 100. And he scores on the putback from the left block. This was a 17-point game at the half, and in 4 minutes, the Gators have taken 12 points away from those 17. Corin couldn't corral it, and it goes back to the Gators.
Oh, this was the concern right here. We talked about Castleton. Double-double the last 2 games. He is just going to work on the offensive glass. You almost have to face guard him, make sure he doesn't get the rebound, but you must put a body on him.
Bonham finds Richard, who shot fakes his way into an open look, knocks it down, 46-43. As shocking as the first 20 minutes were, these first 4.5 of the second half might be even more so. The efficiency with which the Gators have played, they have the chance to tie the game on this possession. Castleton on the block. That's 2.
Elite footwork. Again, if you're not there on the catch, spin moves, and then he's got soft hands, and he's able to finish with the left or right. And he is taking over this game early in the second half.
A 10-0 run not ended as Fletcher missed everything on that try. Lofton getting to play off the ball a little bit with Bonham handling the responsibilities. 3 defenders crash down on Castleton. It's tipped away by Cleveland. And a 10-0 run for Florida, along with 6 Florida State turnovers, because he can change a game.
He's taken over in the second half on his way to what looks like another double-double. Elite skill, that time in transition, but this is where he does most of his damage. Elite footwork and finish. He is just a matchup nightmare, and we've talked about him coming off back-to-back 30-plus games, and he's had double-digit rebounds in both those games.
12.7 boards for Castleton. In the last 3 minutes, 10 unanswered points by the Gators. Foul goes against Corin, his first.
And I think the biggest change, Mike, in this second half, turnovers. Florida State really has not handled this full court pressure by Florida, and then they've been able to get out off those turnovers, Florida.
Castleton back rims it over the top of Corin. First half, FSU turned it over 5 times. In the first 5 minutes of this half, they've turned it over 6. And make it 7 on the offensive foul on Fletcher.
And that continues to be the area of concern for Leonard Hamilton and Florida State. Turnovers. Again, it's hard to win games when you turn the ball over. I talked about it. Their last game, they had 19 turnovers and gave up 17 points off of those turnovers.
Eight on the shot clock. Bonham sneaks down into the short corner and floats it home. And Florida has taken the lead, 47-46.
Well, degree of difficulty off the chart. That is a contested floater on the baseline. Tough shot.
Cleveland got stuck. Green curling, heaving and missing. Castleton. That was deflected, and that dunk ties the largest lead of the game for the Gators. Now at 49-46 after Florida State led by as many as 19 in the first half. And a similar reciprocation at the other end as Corin dunks it.
Well, one of the few easy opportunities for Florida State in the second half. But back to my earlier point, in the first half, all those 50-50 balls were going to Florida State. Not so.
That counts. It's a foul and a goaltend. So Castleton adds 2 to his tally.
And it's not a smart play right here. Again, I'm not sure this one was going in. You have the foul. Yeah, I'm not sure that was going to go in, and that's just giving him 2 free points. Chance for an and one opportunity. Momentum shifted all towards Florida now to start and throughout this second half.
Free throw good for Castleton, who, with the timeout at the next dead ball under 12 minutes, goes to sit here and get a breather. Strategic rest there from Todd Golden. He brought with him an experienced staff. Carlin Hartman, who coached for 5 years under Lon Kruger at Oklahoma. Corey McRae, who's been in the SEC for the last 8 years. And Kevin Hovde, who's been with him for 7, including 2 at San Francisco.
Well, he's excited about what he can do with this program, and one of the bright young minds. Certainly, I think the key was getting Colin Castleton to come back for that final year, and he's got some other pieces around him.
Jatobo with a rejection from behind. It's Richard running the floor, catches it in stride, and scores. Sensational comeback effort, 54-48, the largest lead of the night. As the Seminoles are desperately in search of answers, and any hope has been slowly bouncing away in the second half. Still 12 minutes to decide things tonight in this Sunshine State Showdown. Follows the guy who followed the guy, and that's what Todd Golden is in Gainesville.
Yeah, and he's excited. He said, look, you know, obviously upgrade facilities. It's a Jordan brand school. Certainly you're going to warm weather. He's excited about the direction and what he can do with this program, but he's fully aware of what the expectation is, and some great coaches that have done it before him. And speaking of great ones, that Lon Kruger picture certainly gives me some bad memories. Played that team in the Elite Eight with a chance to go to the Final Four and came up short, but certainly Lon Kruger, one of the better coaches to ever do it.
Went on to Illinois and UNLV and Oklahoma. His final stop as a head coach, now retired. I'm Mike Cousins, along with the former Boston College guard, Malcolm Huckabee. It was all Florida State in the first half, and it's been all Florida here in the second. Oh! Just send it to Bristol right now. Alex Fudge with a hammer.
SportsCenter top 10, it's not even a question. My goodness. Elbow and head above the rim.
It's a play that can leave you speechless. And this game has had some nice finishes, but that one was an aerial attack. Fudge swings to the near side from the corner. Richard denied by McLeod. 7-footer back out onto the floor for the Seminoles. He's not been out there much tonight, only 8 minutes. With 2 to shoot. Corner 3. Everything's coming up Gators.
Well, everything's coming easy now. The ball movement, but it all started with their defense, and then they're just getting high percentage shots in the second half, and the energy has shifted.
Mills puts it up and in. That ends a 10-0 run, but 24 of the last 28 points scored in this game belong to Florida. A remarkable stretch over the last 7 minutes where they saw a deficit, weren't bothered by it, and have turned it into a 9-point lead. Still anybody's game here midway through the second half, but the Gators have to be feeling a lot better about their chances at the moment. House with a finger roll for the freshman out of Dayton, Ohio. And he's called for a technical foul. What did he do? We'll get that figured out in a moment, but let's look at this dunk again from Fudge. From outside the lane, over the 7-footer, Naheem McLeod.
Sports Center, top 10. It's not even close. Give that man the trophy right there. Alex Fudge taking off and showing off the hops. My goodness. Elite athleticism.
Veteran official Doug Sermons coming over to the table for the explanation. It was profanity. Spare you what he actually said. Give me that blank was what he said.
And
I can say we're on cable, but I won't.
Well,
I don't want this to be my last game. I like working with you.
Yeah, I'm going to leave that one alone. You know, if you're Florida State in that situation, obviously you're trailing. The last thing you can do is change the momentum, quiet the crowd, and that's exactly what you have done. No need for it. Certainly it's something that Leonard Hamilton will address with his team when he goes back and looks at this film. Little things like that just kill the momentum.
Maybe they should just say it in Latin, and that way nobody will be able to pick up on it. 9.5 to go. Offensive foul. And that's on Castleton. That's his second. Both of his fouls have been offensive. Just trying to fight for position.
Yeah, and that, you know, again, he's trying to get position. He's got a guard on him. There's really no need for him to swing his arms. Use your legs, throw them straight up. But when you get them out like that, and in particular, you make contact.
That's a bad turnover right there. Florida State comes in 0-3. First time since the 2000-2001 season. They've started off with 3 consecutive losses. 0-4. It's been a while. 1959, 1960 was the last time they started out winless in their last 4 games, which was 25 years before the shot clock. Turnover on one end, turnover on the other. It's back to FSU, down 61-52.
Well, if I'm Florida State, I'm trying to put Castleton in screen and roll situations. But you cannot settle for contested jumpers if you're Florida State.
A wildly errant shot there from Fletcher. Mills off balance, missed it. Castleton the rebound. 19 points, 8 boards for Colin Castleton, trying to make it 3 straight 30-point games. Nobody has ever done that in a Florida uniform.
And that time, Castleton broke the pressure. They denied the guards. He just brought it up like a point and started the offense for Florida.
Ball tipped. Cleveland started it down the floor. He can't finish the break. There's contact, but no whistle. And now the Gators come the other way, and the play ends with a foul on Mills. His third. 8:02 left in the second half.
Well, missed opportunity. You get a steal, That's one that needs to be a 2 for Florida State. Great recovery, and that's 2 plays now by Alex Fudge. The dunk, and then that time the chase down block to break up what looked like was going to be an easy, uncontested layup for Florida State.
The kid in the Montverde sweatshirt is only used to seeing Montverde play that way. The powerhouse high school in the Orlando area. There's a whistle, and what exactly is the call? Looked like something was wrong with the shot clock, perhaps. 7:55 second half, and a Sports Center top 10 play from Alex Fudge, perhaps number 1 tonight.
Yeah, I'm giving him number 1. Hops out of this world. My goodness, Alex Fudge.
The heat on Florida State without an experienced point guard, and that's led to a huge differential in the amount of points they scored off of turnover.
Yeah, I mean, 14 points off of turnovers in the second half. That's the story of the second half. That's when things changed. 22 points off of turnovers for the game, but make no mistake about it, everything shifted when the second half started. Credit Florida, they pressured them and then forced turnovers and created offense with their defense.
Seminoles get a stop right out of the timeout. Green on the baseline drive and kick to the corner. 3 is short for Fletcher.
Well, it's not a bad look that time. You get it off a dribble drive, kick out. But that was not their strength in the first half. That's not how they were scoring. They were scoring with great defense and then getting out in transition and getting paint touches off the bounce. Conversely, on the other side, credit Florida, in particular Castleton. He's had a big second half.
Florida in the first half shot just 28% from the floor. They've turned it around in the second, shooting 56% here in these first 13 minutes. Richard with 3 on the shot clock. Belongs to Mills. He dumps it inside. Fletcher doesn't want to go to work against Castleton. Baseline drive, and it's Cleveland for 2.
And something that will not show up in the game. Fletcher not settling for that 3. He was open, realized that's not a good shot. Let's be a little bit more patient.
Basket is no good. An offensive foul. 3rd on Colin Castleton, all offensive.
And this Cleveland drive is set up by Fletcher, not settling for the 3. Had an ability to shoot it, but decided to be patient, and then Cleveland finally getting the ball into the paint. Excellent offense that time by Florida State.
Lofton into the game as Bonham gets arrested the point, and Lofton matches up against Mills. Now Green, Seminoles leading score, gives it up, gets it back. He didn't have to shoot it as quickly as he did. There were 13 seconds on the shot clock. Lofton trying to get everybody to clear out. As Castleton goes to work. 1-on-2. And scores through the double team. How about it?
If you're late on the double, that's tough to match up with him one-on-one. Footwork and then spin move back to the baseline. 3 guys on him, didn't make a difference. He was able to get to the bucket and score.
He has been amazing today. An answer at the other end. It's 63-56. Touchdown on the extra point. The lead for Florida. Castleton up to 21 points in pursuit of a third 30-point game in a row.
Well, in the first half, Florida State, they were doubling almost before Castleton had the ball.
That's around and out on the try from Jones. FSU ball.
Well, right now, they're stunting. Again, they're there. just a little late, and that's a lot of contact. Castleton still getting it to go. And then Caleb Mills right here. This is beautiful body control and finish with the left. Back and forth, 7-point deficit for Florida State. But the pressure remains by Florida. They're picking up full, and that has been problematic in this game for the turnovers for Florida State.
Green and Cleveland lead the Seminoles each with 12. But Green hasn't scored in the second half. Under 5 minutes to go. It's Mills on Castleton. Oh, that's a tough task.
And I like that offense by Florida State. Put Castleton in screen and rolls. He's flattening out. He's not hedging. That gives your guards the best ability to relieve pressure and then get to the basket.
Open lane, locked in with the left hand on the right side. Open look, Green doesn't need much space. Just missed it. And a foul under the basket. That goes against Florida State.
Well, this right here, again, Castleton, he's just flattening out on the screens. He's not hedging. That's a tough shot. Even if he misses the big for Florida State, he's in position to rebound that. I think that sometimes is your best offense for Florida State. Castleton, he's not hedging. He's not trapping. Put him in a high ball screen and then let your guards go to work from there.
That was the 8th foul against the Seminoles. It puts Castleton at the line for a 1-and-1. 8 fouls against FSU, 7 against the Gators in a 7-point game.
He has been impressive in this second half. Showed off handle and transition, elite footwork around the basket. I've been impressed too with some of the passes that he's made out of the double and triple teams that Florida State has thrown at him.
Castleton had 6 points at halftime and 16 here in the second half. McLeod goes up to the skies to get it. Couldn't keep his balance along the baseline. Lofton might have gotten away with a carry. Castleton through the lane, just off to the right. And it's McLeod who snares it. Green testing how much room he might have there to work against Richard with a hesitation dribble. And Mills, that's foul number 4 on McLeod. The officials have been keeping a very close eye on offensive fouls, especially on the screens against bigs. 3:55 to go. The State in search of its first win of the year. Florida trying to go to 3-1 and get their first win here since December 5th of 2012. Mike Cousins, Malcolm Huckabee with you. It's been the biggest change in the second half. Florida was down huge, 43-26 at the break.
A couple of things. I think the three-point shooting, obviously in that first half, Florida struggled 1 of 12, 8%. In the second half, they haven't been taking that many. They've made 2, but the points off of turnovers. That's been the biggest thing for Florida. Their defense has created offense, and then Colin Castleton, he has been great in the second half. When they've not doubled, he's made them pay.
Castleton, the big man for Florida, with 22 points, 8 rebounds. And in the second half, the Gators have outscored the Seminoles 40-15. Foul is on Naheem McLeod. That's his 5th. And the 7-footer's day is done. So McLeod goes to the bench for the final time today as he finishes scoreless. Leonard Hamilton in conversation at the scorer's table with Doug Shows as Cam Corrin comes in. Important to note as well that with the suspension of Baba Miller, who's not eligible to return until January 11th, and the season-ending injury to Jalen Gainey, the big men that have played tonight were in line to be the 3rd and 4th on the depth chart at forward and center.
And Leonard Hamilton simply said, look, nobody's going to cry for us but it's been difficult for him. The rotations just aren't there because injuries, and obviously with the suspension, they're not at full strength, and in particular with their front court guys in a game like tonight against one of the best, one of the better front court players in college, you're going to struggle.
Mills denied by Castleton. 3.5 to go. Whistle under the basket, and it's Corin. Picks up his second as he tangled with Castleton. So Castleton back to the free throw line, where he's 4 of 6 tonight. Looking to add his 22 points. That's the power of having a transformative player like him, who scored 6 in the first half. And Todd Golden appealed to Castleton's legacy to say, you missed the NCAA tournament last year. You don't want your career to end that way, do you? And as Castleton rehabbed the torn labrum in his left shoulder all throughout the summer, he said he really bonded with Golden and was convinced that you only get one chance to go to the pros and really try and impress. He wasn't going to be able to do it without being at full strength, and that's what brought him back for a 5th season.
Right now, he has been one of the most impressive bigs I've seen in college. Elite footwork, the ability to rebound, and then right here, he can bring the ball up like a point guard. Just really impressive what he's able to do on the court.
Gators by 9. Take time off the clock, loft into the rim, followed by Fudge looking for a second roof-shattering dunk of the night. And Cleveland at the free throw line scores. That ends a 6-0 Florida run.
Still a 9-point game, 2:22 to go. Certainly, though, a time in favor of Florida. They can run some clock. So Florida State certainly is going to have to string together multiple stops.
And it's double bonus the rest of the way. Already 10 team fouls against FSU. Fudge passes up a wide open look. Dishes to Castleton. It belongs to the Seminoles with a second shy of 2 minutes left in the game. The largest lead of the night for Florida State was 19 points. And that dwindled away at the start of the second half. At one point, Florida scoring 24 of 28 points in the game. And a good look like that, a miss from Cleveland. That got the Gators feeling confident that they'll be winners here for the first time in almost a decade. That's off for Florida.
That's great hustle that time by Caleb Mills. Getting on the floor and coming up with a possession for Florida State. And certainly, though, time is running out. But this is just a great individual effort by Mills getting on the floor.
Jalen Worley with the left hand. And a timeout taken by Florida State. They've made it a 7-point game. But if it isn't turnovers, it's going to have to be fouling for FSU, given how much time Florida can take off the clock here.
Well, I think minute 25, you don't have to start fouling right now. Certainly, you got to pick up, see if you can force another turnover. And if you're Florida, obviously the last thing you can do in this situation is turn the ball over, run the clock, or make them foul you, and then take it down as deep as you can. But you mentioned the large lead that Florida State had. One area that they're going to have to fix, whether or not they have injuries or people out, is the turnovers. It's very difficult to win games when you give up that many points off of turnovers.
The most impressive part about what Florida did to erase the deficit was that they got rid of it all in about 5 minutes, because the last time that Florida State held the lead was with 15 minutes to play in the second half. Since then, it's been all Gators. With a win, they go to 3-1. A loss would drop Florida State to 0-4. Jones, a skilled ball handler, got lost as he left his feet and had no destination for the ball. Minute to go, 7-point game. Urgency high. Mills launches. His three is no good. And he bumps there, wasn't looking to foul based on his reaction. But it'll be 2 free throws here, 46 seconds, as those assembled inside the Tucker Center see a defeat imminent for their Noles and start to head for the exits.
Yeah, and in that situation, Mills has no really option but to foul. Florida with a chance to run the clock all the way down.
Yeah, you don't foul. There's 15 seconds left in the game.
Absolutely.
Myron Jones, who had only scored 4 points in the first 3 games. Second-year Gator after spending his first 3 at Florida State. They're hoping that after a regression away from his averages last year, he returns to what he was playing under Pat Chambers in State College, where at his best he averaged 15 a game.
And they're going to need his offense. But back to what I think both coaches are going to look at when they look back at this film. Still some time, 46 seconds left. But that sizable lead that Florida State had, if they eliminate the turnovers, maybe obviously this score looks a lot different. And I think the lack of having a true point guard hurts them. Mills really more of a combo guard. He's more of a scoring guard, but he is going to have to, I believe, be the guy to step up and be the point guard and leader of this Florida State team. I think that's really what's hurting them. On the other side, can't say enough about Colin Castleton. He is just really under control, understands the game, didn't force things in that first half when he was basically getting guarded by 4 or 5 guys at time, passed it out. But then when he realized his team needed him to take over, he took this game over, and really Florida State had no answer for him.
Assuming a Florida victory here as well, it's a missed opportunity for the ACC, which as a league had won only 71% of its games here in the first couple weeks of the season. And they were 2-4 against power conference teams when this game got underway. That changed as Virginia picked up a huge win over a top 10 team in Baylor in the Continental Tire main event. And earlier today, Virginia Tech had a 2-point win over Penn State as well, 51-69.
And watch out for a team like Virginia. P.A. Clark, hard to believe he's still playing for that Virginia squad.
Foul on the 3-point try. 3 free throws coming here for Caleb Mills. As importantly for Florida State, it stops the clock.
And Coach Golden ready to go through the roof right there. He's screaming the whole possession to not foul, and certainly that is not what you want to do in that situation. Give up 3. Certainly stop the clock. Well, we've seen crazier things at the end of games. 38.9 seconds left. Still some time for Florida State to try to pull off the miracle, but it's going to have to start with them getting some turnovers.
All 3 for Mills. The sub brings in another ball handler for the Gators. Myron Jones spells Alex Fudge.
If you're Florida State right here, I think you got time to go for one trap and try to get a steal.
Jones didn't like the look, takes the timeout. 6-point game. At what point in the season, Malcolm, do you feel like a coach knows what he's got, so to say? It's probably not the 4-game mark of the year, right?
No, absolutely not. For Florida State, it's just been difficult for them to field a team with scholarship players to practice. Remember, he only had 7 scholarship players for those first 3 games, so that's really tough for him to manage. And, you know, I think with the Florida squad, new coach, new system, you have some new guys coming in, transfer guys that played in a completely different system. I would say probably December, maybe some teams even January, before you really understand what you have in your team, what rotations and strengths and weaknesses of your team.
Sends Kyle Lofton to the free throw line. And Lofton, the graduate transfer from St. Bonaventure, they can keep him out there on the floor all they want because he doesn't get tired. Last 4 seasons, he played an average of 38 minutes a game, the most in the country. Now, he won't have to play 38 minutes a game with the Gators, but it was funny to hear it from Todd Golden, who said sometimes it's better to be lucky than good when it came to Lofton's recruitment, because they were recruiting another player on the St. Bonaventure roster in the portal. And when that other player talked to Coach Golden, he said, well, is it right if my buddy Kyle comes with me too? I said, sure, why not? So it all happened pretty quickly. Call was Monday. They were down in Gainesville on Thursday. And as it is in our era of the transfer portal, there was another player the Gators were recruiting. They said, hey, we need you to make a choice. And Lofton was all in. It happened in about a week. Seminoles still have the pressure here. Corin with the foul there against Castleton, who's got 24. So he's likely to come up short of 30, but nothing to be ashamed of with that effort, with averaging 25 coming into this game. So the average won't take a dent. And his status, which will please his head coach Todd Golden, will keep him at worst among the top 10 players when Ken Palm updates tomorrow.
I don't care what the data says. That guy is one of the best players in college basketball. Footwork elite, but I think back to your point on Lofton, I think he's key for this Florida team. He was one of the lead assist guys in college basketball last year at St. Bonaventure, 9th in the NCAA, close to 6 assists per game. And when you have a floor general like him on the court, certainly makes it a lot easier for you to run your offense to go along with one of the best bigs in college.
And T-shirts can certainly be a lot more in his rotation now, making the move from Olean, New York, down to Gainesville, Florida. You're going to see the sun a lot more. 74-67, tipped out of bounds, still with the Gators.
On the other side, it looks like Florida State is 16.6 seconds left. No coach likes to take anything positive from a loss. Certainly, they were looking for their first win of the season, but there were some positive signs in that first half for Florida State. But the turnovers, again, I sound like a broken record. That's something they got to figure out. And hopefully soon they'll start getting some of these guys back into their rotation healthy again to practice. But Florida State looks like they're still going to be in search of their first win of the season.
A loss drops them to 0-4. The last time that happened in Tallahassee, the 1959-1960 season. And they'll get a chance for win number 1 come Monday when they welcome the Mercer Bears here for a 6:30 tip. And then after that, it's off to Orlando for Thanksgiving play, where they'll start against Siena. Hopefully not invoking Saints in search of help in their quest for win number 1. The Gators are up to 3-1 quite a way for Todd Golden to pick up his first road victory as the head coach of the Gators on enemy territory here in Tallahassee. 76-67 the final.
Tale of two halves. First half, dominant performance by Florida State, and the second half, really within the first 5 minutes, Colin Castleton